Got holes in your jet sled? I'm gonna show you how to fix it real easy. So after a couple of years of dragging this thing through the swamps, through the woods, through the marsh, you can see I've got quite a few holes in here. And you know, not that these things are super expensive, but they're easy enough to fix that you don't have to go out and buy a new one every time you get an issue like this. So pretty simple. The only things you're going to need is a heat source, whether it's a heat gun, a lighter, or even a I've got one of these propane torches here that I'm going to use today because I lent my heat gun to my brother and forgot to get it back. So, but pretty simple. Get some black zip ties to melt. It's the same material that most of these sleds are made out of, and you just melt the zip ties into the holes. You want to clean up the hole first with some sandpaper, but basically pretty simple to do. While I'm doing all this today, fixing the sled, I figured I might as well go ahead and add these sled wear bars. Eagle Claw makes these for the jet sled. I've never used these before, but basically they're new tracks that you'll put on the bottom, so you won't have to repair them as much. So about that thick and about that wide. Pretty flexible. Like I said, this is a Jed Sled Jr, so just make sure you get the right sled wear bars for your application. But should be a pretty simple process, so stay tuned. Alright, so like I said, you just need some sandpaper, some black zip ties, and a heat source. So what you want to do is take a little coarse sandpaper, rough this up. This one's in pretty bad shape, but at least there's no giant holes. So in these real thin areas, you can just keep melting zip ties till you get it where you want it to go. Now it doesn't have to be perfect, because you can come back with a file and file down any thick spots. You can file down, you can sand down any raised areas, but once we get those new bars on there, it's not going to matter. Just be careful with the heat source. You don't want to put it directly on the sled because it'll just make this worse. Basically, I just hold this up above, hold this over top of it, and like I said, try to keep that heat source off of there. And if you get good, you can drop it, melt it right into the hole. It's not the easiest thing to do, but you can use this as a little paintbrush too. You know, safety first, just watch your fingers. Probably should wear some gloves if you're not very handy. But I'm gonna live dangerously here. And just melt it, drip it, and paint it into that crack. Like I said, don't worry about, you know, it not being perfect. You can come back with a file and some sandpaper and smooth it all out. And like I said, for these real low depressions here that are real thin, you can just keep melting that and just paint it in there. These are pretty small zip ties. I've got some bigger ones somewhere, but these were the first ones I found. So the wider ones would probably be easier to use. And like I said, keep that heat source away from the sled. Don't ask me how I know. I was doing a little testing before I started filming, and I almost made the problem worse. So like I said, keep that heat source away from there. It's a lot easier to do it on the high side, the back side, the underside of the sled than it is on the inside, because there's no ledge here to catch this heat source. And you just keep going along the crack there. And it dries pretty quick, so you want to work quickly. It hardens fast. And that's it. You just keep repeating that. I've got a hole on this side, and I've already done that back corner earlier. And we'll go from there. Get a close up of that. Does a pretty good job. And you can come back and drip some of that on the inside. But like I said, it's a little harder to work with because of this, but you know, if you get accurate with your dripping, you'll be good to go. Same thing, just melt it, let it drip down in there, and paint it in like a paintbrush. This is a little harder, like I said, because I don't want to get the flame on the sled itself. But take your time, you can get it to drip where you want it to drip. It's actually looking pretty good there. And like I said, be conscious of your fingers, because that can get hot quick and get close quick. I think a heat gun would probably be the best thing for this, but I don't have mine here, unfortunately. And if you're really bothered by, if you have a camo sled like this and you want a camo, a little bit of paint after you sand and file everything, but it's for waterfowl hunting. You know how much stuff gets beat up. So, I mean, you could even leave it like that if you wanted to. And that's it, just let that dry. We'll hit it with a little bit of sandpaper. On to the next one. This is probably the worst one. See the light through there, but easy fix. For these bigger holes, if you can get that just melted enough, you can slide it across there and it'll fill that hole. Just takes a little bit of trial and error, a little bit of practice. And some more of the safety stuff. This really doesn't put off that much fumes, but you know, if you're worried about breathing this stuff in, which we probably should be, you know, put a mask on, protect yourself. I gotta grab some more zip ties, so I'm getting low here. Touch that one up, but that looks pretty good there. And just hold it up to the light to see. Yeah, we've got a few more spots we got to do yet. But that's basically it. You just keep repeating that until you got the build-up of plastic that you want, and we'll go from there. All right, hopefully this is all hardened. I let it sit for a while. Just got a file here. I'm just gonna knock the high parts off of this. You don't want to go ahead and ruin all your work to this point, so don't get too aggressive. You just need to flatten this out so these new wear bars will lay flat on there. So Just take it easy. Always come back and touch up any spots too if you missed any. And I pull this behind my kayak and set it in the marshes with me to put my stuff on, so I'm trying to make sure there's no way this is going to leak on me. I guess if you're just using it for the fields, it doesn't matter, but again, just like hitting it with the flame or the heat gun, you don't want to hit these spots that are already too thin when you're filing. So that should be pretty good, I think. I've got a little bit too thick on this side with that, but too thick's better than not enough, I guess. Hopefully the lighting didn't get too bad. I had to open the door, it was getting hot. I closed it before because my neighbor's lawnmower is pretty loud. And you just test fit your wear bar. Like I said, you've got 2 other spots here. Of course, where my holes are is where I'm going to have to drill. Where the weak spots are is where I'm going to have to drill. But should be good enough for what I'm doing here. And then just double check to make sure you didn't file too much off. Hold it up to the light. Take it out here actually. Looks pretty solid. I think we'll be good to go with that. Test this one out here. Yeah, maybe just a little more, just to clean it up a little bit. Just so it doesn't catch on anything, dragging through the weeds. Although with that wear bar on there, that should not be an issue. And for the wear bars, you're just going to get a 3/16 inch drill bit. Try to pop these in. Actually, I think I'm going to do the center 2 first because that has the most meat. But you want to get these lined up so your holes, you know, you don't want to be on the curved part where your screw and your nut's not going to fit in there right. So get that nice and squared up. You know, thinking back in hindsight, had I known they had these wear bars, when I bought this thing, it would have made sense just to put these on when it was new. It's just like I said, you can see how thick these are. It's at least twice as thick as the material on the sled. All right, let me get this sorted here, and we'll go from there. All right, pretty straightforward. They have a screw or a bolt. You put that through, and then there's a rubber washer. It's a steel washer with a rubber backing and the nut. So let's see how this goes. Probably need to grab myself a screwdriver too. That makes things much easier when you got the right tool on standby. Get that in there. Get that in there. Hopefully that'll stay. Oh yeah. Turn it this way, hopefully you can see those. Of course, there's a little bit of plastic residue from drilling those out. Try to get that off of there so we get a good seal on these rubber washers. There we go. So, put the rubber down, screw that on there. It's tight fitting, but that's good. And then these are nylon lock washer, nylon lock nuts. Can't talk here today. Yeah, I think next time I'll run the drill bit back through this other side so it cleans all this plastic out, instead of having to sit here and mess with this and break it all off. And that's going to be it. We'll just keep drilling, repeat, tighten these up, and be good to go. Oh, let's see what that is. It's like about a 9 or 10 millimeter, I think. Maybe. Yeah, 10. I had a 9 in my hand for some reason. This socket wrench in there. Put the wrong one on there again. Got 1,000. Had the 5/16 in the 10 and vice versa. Pretty much how it goes though, right? You don't have to get crazy on this, just snug it down. That nylon lock washer, or I keep saying washer, nylon locking nut. Just take care of that from slipping back out so you don't have to get crazy. See that rubber on there just came out of the edge oh so slightly. You don't want to completely flatten it and squeeze the life out of it. Just seat it down so it stays sealed. All right, so I'll knock this out and we'll keep going from there. Yeah, a lot easier to clean that up before you get the bolt in there. All right, that's it. Last one. Got all 5 bolts and washers and nuts in there. Everything looks to be good to go. I was trying to figure out why they sold me a 3-piece, but apparently this is for other models as well. It's good for the Sled Jr, the HD Junior, SUV, and flip shelters. So, but if I buy another pack, then I'll have, in the future, then I'll have enough for 2 more retreads. So just hold on to that. But pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I think, like I said, in retrospect, if I bought another one of these, I'm just going to buy these from the beginning, because you're only running 2 tracks on the ground. That's that much less pressure. Should slide a lot easier and get around a lot easier. So hopefully get another season or 2 out of these. Not 100% sure I like how these nuts stick up here, but I guess there's really no other alternative. I guess what you could do is put some rubber caps or something on them, but other than that, should be good to go. Migration Waterfowl is presented by Bluebird Waterfowl, also brought to you by the Duck Hole and Company, AV's Hunting Gear, Flight Day Ammo, Rig 'em Right Outdoors, and Northern Duck Calls. If you guys are in the market for any of those products, I'd appreciate it if you would go and support those partners of ours. Let them know you heard about them on the Migration Waterfowl podcast or Migration Waterfowl YouTube channel. Don't forget, for Flight Day Ammo, use code MW10 at checkout for 10% off. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for today. If you've got any other tips or suggestions that you've done to repair these, drop it in the comments below. Don't forget, we have an audio podcast, the Migration Waterfowl podcast, that drops every Thursday morning on all podcast platforms. It's going to be on Apple, Spotify, iHeart. Anywhere you get your podcast, you'll be able to find us there. So do me a favor and check that out. Hit the like on this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll be bringing you more throughout the rest of the season.